A formidable new axis of defiance against Western-led international norms has formally emerged, with Russia, China, and Iran jointly issuing a letter to the United Nations nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. In a coordinated diplomatic maneuvers, the three nations declared that all restrictions on Iran's nuclear program, as stipulated under UN Security Council Resolution 2231, have officially expired. The letter went a step further, asserting that the authority of the UN to monitor Tehran's nuclear activities has consequently ended. This move provides diplomatic cover for Iran's advancing nuclear program, with Moscow and Beijing explicitly backing Tehran's claim that the 2015 nuclear deal or joint comprehensive plan of action is no longer legally binding. The trio collectively condemned European efforts to reimpose sanctions on Iran as illegal and a violation of international agreements. This declaration significantly raises the stakes in the Middle East and presents a direct challenge to the global non-proliferation regime. The timing of this announcement is strategically potent, coming as United States President Donald Trump abruptly canceled a planned meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, citing the ongoing war in Ukraine. In a concurrent punitive action, the Trump administration, with guidance from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, imposed a new round of sanctions targeting Russia's critical oil sector, aiming to further constrict the Kremlin's war funding. This complex geopolitical chessboard also features the continuing trade showdown between Washington and Beijing, with both President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping preparing for a crucial and potentially contentious summit scheduled to take place at the end of the month. The escalating tensions between the United States and China are set to dominate the international agenda as President Donald Trump travels to Asia for a high-stakes meeting with President Xi Jinping. The summit's agenda is laden with contentious issues, including trade imbalances, technological competition, and sharpening geopolitical rivalries. President Trump has signaled a tough negotiating stance, publicly warning Beijing that the existing 157% tariff rate on a range of Chinese goods is not sustainable, and that he expects significant concessions. In his pre-summit messaging, Trump has emphasized America's resurgent leadership in critical sectors like artificial intelligence and industrial manufacturing, urging China to leverage its influence to restrain Russia's aggression in Ukraine. Furthermore, the White House has issued a stern caution to Beijing against any military action in Taiwan. In a sign of China's desire to manage the economic friction, Chinese Vice President Xi Jinping, a senior and influential member of the Communist Party, is leading a separate delegation for parallel economic consultation aimed at stabilizing the fraught trade relationship. While Washington engaged directly with Beijing, diplomatic friction is also intensified between China and Europe. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul was forced to postpone an upcoming trip to China after Beijing reportedly declined to arrange any high-level meeting. The visit was intended to address China's recent export restrictions on rare earth minerals and the war in Ukraine. The cancellation is a significant diplomatic embarrassment for Berlin and comes amid rising trade tensions, with the European Union clashing with Beijing's over what it terms China's industrial overproduction and its potential impact on European industries, particularly the automotive sectors. In response to what his administration views as the primary long-term strategic threat, President Donald Trump has unveiled an ambitious and transformative naval modernization program known as the Golden Fleet. This sweeping initiative, which forms the centerpiece of a $1 trillion defense upgrade plan, is designed to fundamentally reshape United States maritime power and counter China's rapidly expanding navy. According to reports, the core of the Golden Fleet concept involves the development and constructions of massive missile-laden warships that would serve as floating arsenals. These vessels would be significantly larger than the current generations of destroyers and cruisers, and they would be packed with hundreds of vertical launch cells capable of firing a wide array of offensive and defensive missiles. The strategic objective, as articulated by the Department of Defense under Secretary Peter Hegseth, is to overwhelm the anti-access area denial networks that China has meticulously constructed in the Pacific. By deploying these heavily armed arsenal ships, the U.S. Navy aims to restore its offensive firepower and ensure it can project power even in highly contested maritime environments. The plan represents a major strategic pivot, focusing resources on high-end platforms designed for great power competition rather than the counter-insurgency and small-scale conflicts that dominates the preceding decades. The Golden Fleet initiative is a clear and powerful signal of the Trump administration's commitment to maintaining military superiority over China in the Indo-Pacific theater. The security situation on NATO's eastern flank has become increasingly volatile, with Lithuania taking the dramatic step of closing its final two border crossing with Belarus. Move, which also saw the shutdown of the country's largest airport for a period, was triggered by a series of deliberate airspace violations involving balloons allegedly launched from Belarusian territory. Lithuanian officials reported that these balloons were carrying contraband cigarettes, a tactic seen as part of a broader hybrid warfare strategy designed to test border security, disrupt transportation, and create instability. Authorities warned that this was the third such incident in the past month alone, following earlier closures of Vilnius airspace and severe disruptions to European aviation caused by similar drones and balloon incursions. This pattern of provocation is viewed by officials in the Baltic states and within NATO as a deliberate attempt by Moscow's ally Belarus to harass and destabilize the NATO member states. The use of unconventional, low-cost methods to create high-impact disruptions highlights the involving nature of modern conflicts. The complete sealing of the Lithuanian-Belarusian border is a stark indication of the deteriorating security environment in the region, forcing NATO countries to adapt to persistent and ambiguous threats that fall below the threshold of conventional military attack but pose a significant risk to national and regional security. If you have made it this far, congratulations. You have unlocked the truth. I want to ask you a quick question though. Is the coordinated move by Russia, China, and Iran to dismantle the UN sanctions on Iran's nuclear program the most clear signal yet that a cohesive anti-Western bloc is forming? And if so, is the US strategy of simultaneously confronting this bloc while dealing with each power individually a viable path to stability or a recipe for accelerated global conflicts? And why? Join the debate. We want to hear your insightful opinion on where this is all heading in our community. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.